deep true crime. I'm Manny Rodriguez. In today's episode, we are diving into a case that we have shared before when an arrest was made earlier this year. This is the case of Jared Bridegan, who was taken from this world way too soon. And just like his current wife said earlier in the year, enjoy your freedom while you can. She was speaking to two particular individuals after someone was arrested, and she knew that there was others that were guaranteed to be involved. She even said the only enemy that Jared had was his ex-wife. And now that ex-wife has been arrested, and we're diving deep into what we know at this time in the murder of Jared Bridegan. Be right back. Don't go anywhere. Forgive me if I am mispronouncing his last name. I should have dug in a little deeper. I believe it's Bridegan. So forgive me. Let me know in the comments if I'm mispronouncing his name. Because if it's one thing that this is about, this video is about the victim. And this victim was taken from his children way too young. And so we're diving into this case. And rest in peace to Jared, who was taken from this world. And you could see him with one of his little girls. And this is his current wife. And as I shared with you, she knew that there were more people involved with this. And now we know, yes, there truly was. And when I did this story earlier in the year, after the first arrest was announced, yes, it was looking like it was not going to be long before more people were arrested. You see, Jared Bridegan, he was only 33 years old, and he was shot in the back in 2022 as his toddler daughter looked on. Something that I am sure she'll never ever forget. And we dive into a little of what his current wife is sharing that she deals with, because she was right there when it happened. And now we have the ex-wife of the Microsoft executive Jared Bridegan. She has now been charged with his murder 18 months after he was killed execution style by a hitman who was allegedly hired by her new husband. The picture you see is with the ex-wife and her new husband. Bridegan, he was shot in the street in February of 2022 after dropping off his kids with his ex, seen here, Shanna Gardner-Fernandez, in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. And at the time, the pair were arguing over custody all the time. They were going back and forth, because who was going to have the custody. And so this divorce was not good at all. From what I am learning, Shanna changed a lot after she married Jared. Jared stayed his true self, while she literally changed. Maybe she got into it too young, maybe she wasn't ready, but from what I am learning, she changed over time. She did not stay that same loving wife, obviously. And so here he was dropping off his kids with her, Shanna, in Jacksonville. And then, at that time, he's working as a senior design manager from Microsoft. And he was living with his new wife that I shared with you. This was his new wife that he was living with. And their two children in St. Augustine, Florida. And, they lived a great life. They were living what many people would consider a dream lifestyle. They lived in a $780,000 home, which Jared's two children with Gardner-Fernandez would visit there all the time. And he would regularly drive north to Jacksonville Beach to spend time with them. He was an active father. Those kids were his world. And so finally we find out that there was more people involved, and now we find out, yes, but it is unclear what kind of new evidence that has led police to finally charge Gardner Fernandez, who has been laying low since the murder, even going so far as to separate from her current husband, literally living miles and miles away. And so prosecutors in Florida announced that Gardner Fernandez had been indicted by a grand jury on charges of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. And her and her husband, Mario Saldana Fernandez, who he was charged earlier this year, they now both face the death penalty. And, it is said that they actually hired a hitman to do this. And that hitman, Henry Tenon, lured Bridegan to the street by placing a tire in front of his vehicle while he was driving home with his youngest child. And so this case, it was unsolved for many months, literally months and months. Like, what happened to the Microsoft executive? There's no way that this story is going to die out until the hitman, Henry Tenon, he finally comes clean. But he comes clean when he confesses to the plot after he was arrested for an unrelated crime. And a lot of times that's one of the things that they do is like, hey, I know more about this and I'm asking for leniency, right? Something along those lines. So he's arrested for something else. And then at the same time, he's like, I've got something to share with you. I'm guessing, will it hurt my case or help my case, right? So, or he had a guilty conscience. First time he's committed such a crime, right? I don't know what it's like to murder someone, but my guess is I'll never be able to sleep if I did such a thing. So my guess is his guilt got the better of him. Now, Saldana Fernandez, he pleaded not guilty earlier this year, and he is due to go to trial. And Bridegan and his new bride, Kirsten, they were living an idyllic life when he was murdered. You see, he was thriving at work, and from by all accounts, all of his colleagues loved him, thought the world of him, respected him. And a salary for a senior Microsoft UX designer is generally around $200,000 a year, which is pretty good money. And so on February 16th of 2022, Jared had just dropped the twins off that he shares with Gardner Fernandez off at their mother's house and was driving home with his 2-year-old daughter in the back seat when he comes across a tire in the road. And so the tires in the road it's in the middle of the road. And so he stops, he gets out to move this tire. That is when he is shot dead in an execution style killing. And here's the thing. This is why they knew something was very suspicious about that. Because it was in an area that someone had to know what they were doing. Someone had to plan this out. They knew that there were no cameras. They knew that there was no houses around there. There's no Ring doorbell to catch this. And so that is why someone had to know what's going on. And that's exactly what his widow wife said. Kirsten, she shared that it's trees and a one-way street. Like, someone knew he would be going this direction. And so Henry Tenon, he was arrested, as I shared earlier this year, on unrelated charges to this. And then he confesses his role in this heinous crime. And so he confesses under questioning and he shares everything that he knows. And he told police that Saldana Fernandez, the husband, hired him, and that Henry, he's willing to testify against him at the trial. And he says that the pair met when Henry rented a home from the husband. And so that's how they knew each other. And of course they're denying this, but how else would he know who, when, where, why, how? And so we don't really know how Gardner Fernandez met her new husband. But those who knew them before their arrest say that she became wilder and wilder as their romance progressed. She even visited a tattoo parlor in 2015 asking for a genital piercing, a request that shocked staff who said that, she looked like a normal mother. They were shocked by this request to do this to her body. Not that it's out of the ordinary in so many cases, but generally, I guess I don't work in a tattoo parlor. I don't know, but I'm guessing if they're tattoo artists and they say that she looks like a normal mother, they're saying that normal mothers don't come in here to get tattoo piercings of that. Maybe they come in for, other reasons, but not for that particular reason. And so, one person even said that she went from this goody two shoes girl to this wild lady. I just remember thinking, well, this is a changed woman. So these were people who most likely will end up testifying about her character and how she changed over time. In the beginning of their relationship, friends of the former couple say that Shanna, she wooed Jared with the promise of wealth from her parents. Now, obviously, he had a lot going for himself, so I'm not too sure how much that would have helped, but they get married. They have two twins, Abby and Liam. Then they move to Bridegan's native Jacksonville Beach to accommodate Liam's heart condition that required him to live at sea level. And so eventually they separated again, 2015. Remember, she's starting to change a little according to people that are around her. And then over those next 6 years, these two fight over who would raise the children. Now, again, in this picture is Shanna and her new husband. They get married a year after Jared and his wife get married. You see, Bridegan, he married Kirsten in 2017, and who he has two children with, while Shanna married Mario in 2018, as I shared, a year later. Now, Bridegan, he had just dropped the twins back at his ex-wife's house on February 16th of 2022 at around 7:30 p.m. in the evening, and he was taking his regular route home when he stops to move a tire that was placed in the road, which police say this was a trap set to lure him out of his vehicle in order to move that tire. So it was like they knew he's going to see this tire, he's going to get out of the tire, and then boom, I guess it goes according to plan, because he was shot multiple times at close range next to the driver's door of his Volkswagen Atlas. Again, right next to the driver's door. Like as soon as he's getting out, someone attacks. And we find out Henry is the one that attacks. And Bridegan's 2-year-old daughter, Bexley, was in the car strapped in her child seat. And think about it, for that little girl, she is going to hear the sounds of a loud sound, bang, boom, for the rest of her life. And every single time, it's going to bring back flashback. And this brutal crime is sent shockwaves through what is normally a quiet Florida beach town, with Bridegan's friends and family expressing amounts of shock that anyone could have targeted the man whom they say had no enemies. And this devout Mormon tech executive was, according to his grieving widow, a devoted and wonderful father to twins Liam and Abby, daughter Bexley, and their youngest daughter, London, just 7 months old. And so, these are extremely heartbreaking stories, right? You never want to know that this is possible, that someone can plan this, can do this. This should not happen. And you think about it, first, they lost their father, the kids. Then their sisters. And so the tearful widow of Jared pleaded with the family of his ex-wife, who is the accused killer, Shanna Gardner-Fernandez, to, she was begging all this time, let the kids reunite with their half-siblings. Jared, again, was fatally shot after dropping his twins off, right? And so all along this time, they were being kept from one another. And the widow, she's like, let them get together. Why are we keeping them apart? And so now that Gardner-Fernandez has been arrested on murder charges just yesterday, August 17, authorities say that she played a central role in this roadside shooting of her kid's father. And Bridegan's widow, Kirsten Bridegan, again, the mother to his two other children, said the Gardner family immediately isolated the twins, Liam and Abby, from their father's side of the family, including their two half-sisters. And so Kirsten, she said that I plead with the Gardners to put the emotional and mental well-being of the twins above all else and allow them to reconnect with us. That's what she said after Gardner-Fernandez's arrest was announced. So, she's like, these are family, we're family. And she says, we are their family, we love them, we have prayed for them every single day for 547 days since they were ripped apart and isolated from us. That is what she said. See, she was trying to have a relationship with the family ever since this Microsoft exec was tragically, he literally was snuffed, right? He didn't see it coming. And so she says that for the past year and a half, Liam and Abby have been isolated and kept away from us while they lived with their mother, their stepdad, and their maternal grandparents. Despite my constant request to see or speak to them, I have been denied and continuously ignored. And Gardner-Fernandez's parents, Shelley and Sterling Gardner, they own a lucrative Utah-based papercraft company and are considered leading members of the local Mormon community. And so now you had all this suspicion, because this suspicion about their daughter has been in the news for a long time. Honestly, when I reported on this, it was just a matter of time, especially when Henry was tied to Mario Fernandez. And so, with suspicions swirling about their daughter's involvement in her ex-husband's death, the couple, they decided to purchase her a Washington home using an LLC. So they buy it under a business. That way it's not tied to any personal. Gardner-Fernandez moves west without her second husband, Mario Fernandez. There was too much heat on them. And so the Gardners, they released a statement after the arrest cautioning against a rush to judgment. Have we not heard that so many times? Don't rush to judgment. Let it play out in court. While I do agree with that, you already know. I can already tell you. She's going to say, she did not know about this. She did not know her husband was up to something. She did not know Henry was going to do this. That's normally how it plays out, especially if you're going to plead not guilty. But the family says words cannot accurately express the depth of our sadness, family is our top priority. We love our daughter and are focused on supporting her and our entire family as we help our grandchildren navigate this difficult and very confusing time. It is very confusing. But my question to the grandparents is, why did you help keep these two kids away from their half siblings, which is literally it's family. Whether you put half siblings or not, Jared Bridegan's blood is in those two kids. And so I like, why would you not help bring them together? Again, I'm only speculating. That's one of the reasons why I do this channel, is because I want to play detective. And so, Bridegan, he was killed while driving home from his ex's house, you know, with his 2-year-old daughter in the, with his then 2-year-old daughter with Kirsten. And so she's in the back seat, and he stops after seeing that tire. And so, come on, we also got, everyone deserves their day in court, but let's be real. We also want to know, like, hey, come on, he deserves justice, right? Shanna Gardner-Fernandez deserves to be where she deserves to be. She's going to get her day in court. She's going to say most likely not guilty. She's going to form her own defense. But at the end of the day, Jared Bridegan deserves justice. Justice for Jared. Jared deserves justice. And so now we wait to find out more. We don't really know what her defense is going to be, but we know that at 7:30 p.m., this is an image from Daily Mail. Jared drops off the 9-year-old twins at his ex-wife's house. She's the mom, right? 20 minutes later, Jared is shot dead while moving a tire from the middle of the road. And Jared's home with his second wife in St. Augustine. You can see the distance from Jacksonville area all the way down to St. Augustine. And here he is with his 3 children, who I am sure every single day struggle with the loss of their father. Jared was taken away from this world way too soon. And now we got to work on getting justice. My goal is to help you realize this is how bad this world is that we live in. This is what could go wrong that fast. And sometimes you wonder, like, how can we prevent this? Truth is, Jared had no clue that he was getting out to an ambush. He did not know that tire in the road was so someone can take his life. These are the tragic stories that blow my mind, and why I do these stories. Because truth is, Jared deserves justice. My friends, I'm Manny Rodriguez. This has been another episode of Deep True Crime. Until next time, pray that these kids find solace and they find a way to keep Jared's name on. Thank you for joining me today. If this is the type of content you like to follow, please support by just subscribing. If you found some value in this video, please hit that like button, because that tells YouTube there's value here. Show it to more people. And my goal is to get his story out. He did not deserve this tragic ending to his life. We do know he was murdered. And now, hopefully, he gets everyone who is accountable to this held accountable. I'm Manny Rodriguez. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Deep True Crime. Until next time, my friends, peace.